Hello everyone, I am Beth Golden, and today I want to share with you a new to me, it's been on the market I think for a while. It's a mixed media surface, so it's basically a paper that can absorb or work with a lot of mixed medias. And when I first found this at the art supply store, I was like, that's too good to be true. And then I bought it and I brought it home, and holy cow, is it amazing. So it comes, this one that I have came in a 12 pack, and the measurements are 12 by 9 by 9 inches by 12 inches. And so it says that it's good for watercolor, alcohol ink, sprays, and acrylic. So I know that you can pretty much use acrylic on anything. So I'm not going to share what that's like with you today, but I am going to do a project today in which we sample 4 different mediums. And it's a way that you can sample different mediums and also create an art project out of it. Sometimes I get frustrated when I need to sample something and I may not have scratch paper, and it's like, well, I don't want to use my good paper, but this way you at least walk away with a really cool art piece. Or if you want to make the measurements smaller, you can do it for a card base. So anyway, we're going to get into that in a minute. But it's beautiful. You can't tell, but it's super smooth. When I first found it, I'm like, I don't know if this is going to work with watercolor. So I played with it, and I have some samples at the end that I'll share with you. All right, so if you want to do this after you watch this video, or if you want to pause and grab even a piece of paper that is not this, that you want to test out different mediums on, you could totally do that as well. Maybe you have a piece of cardstock that you want to see what can take. You can do this as well. So you are going to need some washi tape and your trimmer. I'm going to remove this because I have mine prepared, and since I am going to be using some alcohol ink, I wanted to have a surface that would be okay with that. All right, so right here I have sectioned off four boxes, and I'm going to use a medium in each box to share with you today. Now, in order to do this, you don't want to cut your paper down to 8 by 8. You want to do 8.75 by 8.75 because that gives you a 1/4 of an inch here, 1/4 of an inch here, and a 1/4 of an inch here, and that'll give you 4-inch square boxes. Now, it also is important that you have your washi tape. I used obviously washi tape that was 1/4 inch wide, but take that into consideration when you lay yours out. Yours may be a 1/2 inch or a total inch. And if you want equal boxes, just take that into consideration. All right. So the first thing I am going to play with this, and it's something that we all, if you're a card maker, this is something that you have in your stash. I am going to keep the colors similar just so we can really get a nice compare and contrast of the medium, because so when we play with similar colors, we tend to be able to see those similarities and differences of how the medium plays on our surface better than if we were using a whole bunch of different colors. So for this, I am going to be using a Melon Mambo, which is a beautiful pink. I'm going to use Gorgeous Grape, which is obviously purple, and then this one, which is for my blue. The reason why I chose these colors is purple's super hard to work with because it's called the color of sin, so to speak, and it's because it only plays well with its 2 primary colors, which are red and blue. But you can kind of get away depending on the pink with it as well. So that's why I kind of decided to do that. So what I'm going to do is I am first going to actually do this corner, and I'm just going to blend some ink through just to kind of see how it lays and whatnot. So already I'm noticing that it's extremely forgiving. If you noticed when I first went in with that, I went in a little bit heavy handed on this portion up here, and since this is kind of, I don't want to call it a wet medium, but it does stay wet longer. It blended through beautifully after I went over it again. So there we are with that beautiful melon. Now I'm going to go in with the grape. And again, I am going to go in heavy just so you can kind of see how, you know, it's not quite even. And then if I just go back through it, then I am able to blend it on through just like that. And then I'm gonna go over it one more time with my blending brush right here with that pink and just get that blended on through. Loving this so far. It blends beautifully. And the ink pads that I'm using are actually, they're water-based and then they change into a dye. So it's kind of cool because they work like a water-based product in which you can really manipulate them quite nicely as you are actively creating your art. But once they dry, they sink into the surface and they become permanent and you can't move them as easily. So there's this one. And so there is a lot of work time on this that I've discovered on this paper. Okay, now I'm going to go in with my blue, just like so. And again, if you see, it's like, whoopsie, went in too heavy-handed. If this was regular paper, that would be a problem. But since this is this mixed media paper, really not an issue at all, as long as that ink is wet and sitting on that surface, which it is. So I'm having no problem blending this on through. Now, with that being said, I did notice that it does pick up fingerprints easily because it is wet. So you're gonna really want to let it sit and dry. That's really important. If you wanted to add some water to this, you know, I guess you could. Let's see what happens. I haven't done that. Oh, so it reacts quite nicely to the water as well. All right, so I'm gonna leave this piece done. So this is how this works with your ink pads. And again, this is a water-based ink, and then it turns into that dye. And so it's super hard to maneuver around at that point. I do want my edges to be a little bit, I see some white. And so I want that line to be nice and crisp. Now this makes me think this is also supposed to be a heat resistant type. It's super durable with heat. So let's just see how this does with this heat, because I did lay that water on this surface like so. So I just want to see, how does it do? There is a little bit of buckling that's going on. I'm noticing right away. Not exactly the end of the world, but something to be mindful of. And then I'm going to go in and I'm just going to pick up. There we go. So it was able to remove that ink as well. But yeah, there is some buckling. It's not quite dry yet. I'm going to leave it alone for now. I may take a heating tool to it at the very end, but for this, let's just move on. All right, the next thing that I want to play with for this is going to be, let's do some scribble sticks. So this is a water-soluble pigment, and water-soluble, water-based anything with a surface that is so smooth and almost shiny always kind of scares me, because usually it beads up. But what I've noticed about this is if I get the tip of my scribble stick wet and not scribble first and then try to go through and wet it, it really does a beautiful, beautiful job. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use, this is the neon. I'm a big neon fan, so now whenever I can find neon, I always do. And so let me leave this up so you can kind of see what we're doing. So this is this, all right. There we go. So there you go. So this is what I'm playing with, is the Neon Scribble Sticks by Dina Wakley. And again, I'm just putting some water down, and I'm just gonna go in same way. This time though, I'm gonna work my way up. So, or I should say I'm working my way down, but I'm gonna use the opposite color. So instead of starting with pink up here, I'm gonna start with this blue. It's called Legit. And I'm just gonna take and run it through the water over here like this, just to get that end nice and wet. And then from here, I'm gonna go ahead and scribble it on through. Do you see how lovely that lays? As long as your end is wet, it will go ahead and give you just like beautiful coverage. All right, so I'm just going back through. As it dries up, I take note and I go back in. All right, so here is this one. You can see those lines. If I wanted to blend it out more, I could take even a paintbrush to it, but I really love how that looks. All right, so the next one I'm going to use is going to be the Bodacious, which is their version of purple. Now, since I popped in right here, it wouldn't be horrible if I re-wet it with that same puddle, but I want to just start a new puddle up here with this color. And what's so cool about Scribble Sticks is you can actually apply this a couple different ways depending on your surface and what you are going for. In general, Scribble Sticks, you can wet the end and then you can take a paintbrush and pick up this color off of the end and use it as paint, like a watercolor base. Or you can do what I'm doing right here, and you can scribble it out on the side and pick up ink from the puddle. Or you can apply it like you would a crayon or a drawing type vessel, so to speak, and pick it and then go through with water after and add the water after. And that'll give you some really fun lines that you can smudge through. All right, so that is my Bodacious right there. And this is drying. See, now it's wet because this is a medium that stays wet for a while. So I did get my fingerprint in there, right? So just keep that in mind when you're working with this. Once it dries, it dries. I'm going to show you at the end. But as you're working with it, it does stay wet for some time. Okay, the next color I'm going to use is going to be the pink one, which is Stoked. So again, I'm going to go in with a different puddle down here. And I'm just getting that in nice and wet. And I'm just going in. And the beauty of this too is if you happen to get it in another color, it's not the end of the world. Like if my stick happens to touch this purple up here, it's like so wet. I can just go and rub that color off on my craft mat or on a scratch piece of paper. So you don't have to really worry about that I call it cross contamination of colors, because it's not going to work. But do you notice how my ink gets dry right there? It doesn't really adhere to the paper. So that's one thing that you want to keep in mind with this paper is that drawing directly may be a little bit challenging unless you're using an alcohol marker. I think that an alcohol marker would work really, really beautifully on this paper. Okay, but that's also not a water base. Now, this is pretty wet, okay? And we are almost done with that. All right, I'm gonna leave that. I think I'm loving how that looks. Normally, I would paint with this, but for the sake of video and time, and I don't wanna have to edit this, so I'm being lazy. I'm just gonna wipe it up. All right, don't get mad. Don't be like, oh, that's so wasteful. I know. It's really not though. How many of us really honestly go through all of our mediums? I never do. I always have it forever and ever, it seems. Maybe an alcohol ink I'll go through. All right, the next thing I want to lay down and use is going to be watercolor ink, or watercolors, I should say. And this is the Brighter Than Beautiful by Art by Marlene. And again, these are gorgeous. So I'm going to use Dancing Queen this time, Kiss Me, and Cancel Tonight. So for this one, I am just going to take my mister. I really need to get another mister. This one is on its very last leg. I've had it forever, so I need a new one. All right, now from here, I'm going to take my brush, and for this one, I'm going to do down in this corner. So I'm going to start with my pink up here, purple, blue. All right, so I'm gonna start with this pink, And that is really, really some thick pigment here. So let me go ahead and add some more water to it. There we go. All right, and so this is the test, my friend. How does watercolor, straight watercolor that you use on a brush, go on this type medium? And what does it look like? So this is interesting. This line right here, I'm not quite sure what that's about. Obviously something had to make an indentation. I don't know what, but it is. I'm seeing little lines show up, which is very interesting to me. It's kind of cool. I must have scratched the paper, which, hey, that's something that we can learn from, right? If I scratch the paper, then it makes an indentation and it causes your mediums to go on a little bit differently. So that's something that you could use for your advantage down the line if you decide that you want to play with this type of surface. Is know that you could maybe do like a little bit of scratch art or something inside of on the paper to reveal a, use like a negative type image. That's kind of cool. Okay, so I am just kind of rinsing this off right here. And let me pull a baby wipe. That may be a little bit easier to do that with. Okay, so again, we're using the watercolor right now. As far as the stuff that I'm using, you guys, I'm just using brands that I like. Really, at the end of the day, you're not, if it's watercolor, it's gonna work. If it's, you're gonna get the same type results. If it's any kind of ink like this is gonna work. So I'm not telling you that, oh, you have to use what I'm using. I would much rather have you stick to, oops, I did that wrong. I'm supposed to have the blue down here. I would much rather have you use things that are out of your craft room. I think so much we get so caught up on, trying to keep up with the next artist. And so we don't always use what we want, what we have in our craft room. And that's a shame. You spent good money on it. My goodness, get in there and use it. Not just once, not just twice, but all the time. So if you notice, this is beading down here a little bit, which is quite interesting. I am actually thinking that there's something on the paper, because I didn't have these results when I did this the first time. I actually absolutely positively love how this, how watercolor lays on this. I think it's beautiful and I'm really impressed. It's probably one of my favorite surfaces now to use a water-based medium on. Okay, now this is this version of that purple. It's more of like a burgundy. But yeah, so I want to just kind of brush through here with this. And that's really, really pretty. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take my brush and I am going to get it wet and I'm going to blend this through a little bit. Let's see what happens when we do that. So I'm just gonna see, I still have some ink on this that I need to get to work through. I want to get that kind of as clean as I can, if it's at all possible. I could get a new brush, that might make better sense, right? Okay, so let's just do this. There's a different type brush here. Oh, that was green before, so that's gonna make mud, so I don't really want to do that. All right, so let me just see here. You are seeing everything today. Okay, so let me just take this. You know what? Let me just take and do some water on this. We're just gonna see what happens. This is kind of cool too, just to see what that water does. Now I'm just going to take a big paintbrush that I have here, and I'm just going to kind of paint it through. I just want to see, does it blend? What does it do? So the more saturated and wet your brushes and your paper is, the more it tends to do what I would expect from watercolor, which is just kind of bubble up and make some beautiful pools. Okay, so I want to put in up here some more of that purple, of that pink, and go ahead. There we go. Okay, I love that. Then I want to put some blue, more blue on the bottom here. All right, and then we're gonna call this one good, and we're gonna move on over to our alcohol ink. Okay, so I'm just gonna take and just kind of wash that on through up into that purple. There we go. All right, so that's the watercolor that we have here, and just take a look at how different it is from the Scribble Stick. Do you notice anything different? Do you notice anything similar? And at this point, if you can tell me in the comment section if you've used this paper, let me know, this surface, and what is your favorite way to use a mixed media surface like this? I would love to know and be inspired. So if you can let me know in the comment section, that would be absolutely fantastic. Okay, so we're done with this. Now we're going to move on to our fourth and final medium, which is going to be the alcohol ink. So alcohol ink is probably one of my favorites to play with. I like to do straight up alcohol ink, and then I also enjoy using alcohol markers. I know that this may sound crazy because there's alcohol in it, and when it's done, it's permanent, but I find it to be super forgiving. When I am using alcohol markers, it's easy to blend. It's very easy to blend with other alcohol products. And when I'm using alcohol inks, it's easy to blend with other, well, it's still wet, or with other alcohol-based products. But what's cool is once it dries, if you're not using alcohol blending solution, it will, I lost my pink. It will, there it is. It will not be, you won't have to worry about it blending at all. So it's a pretty versatile type product that I enjoy using quite a bit. And again, you can find alcohol ink. Make sure you give it a good shake. You can find alcohol ink anywhere. I'm using Ranger's Neon because I have a thing for neon, but I have a bunch of alcohol ink that I just picked up from the art studio. So one thing that I want you to take into consideration is before you go and purchase from art craft companies, see if you can't just get it from your art supply store, an off-brand or their brand, because a lot of these companies take their ideas and inspiration from other companies. They usually steal them, quote unquote, from art supply stores, like the blending brushes that I was using. I don't know if you know this or not, but those were originally used for makeup. And someone saw that and they're like, oh, wow, I wonder what that would do with my art. So just keep that in mind. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my felt tip, and there's a couple, or my felts here, different ways you can do this. You could blow it out with this thing. I love doing that. That's fun. You could leave it drop like this. You could put your alcohol ink directly on this and then smoosh it through, or you can lay your alcohol blending solution down first and then smoosh it through, or you can do what I'm doing right now, and you can just add your blending solution to your tip, and you can just start to kind of work it through like this. All right, like that. There we go. Okay. Pretty cool. I do want to go back up into this area, make sure I get those edges. And that is quite lovely. All right. This one's going to dry quicker than the rest of them because it is an alcohol base. So it's going to basically quickly evaporate like alcohol does. And the other ones, let me go ahead and take my heat gun to it again and try to get this dry, because I would like to pull this final piece for you and you can see the wonderful art that you can create while trying to sample different products. Okay, so we're just going to go over this all like this. And it does stay wet to the touch for a little bit, so just keep that in mind. You do want to, that's pro and a con. You know, it's a pro because it gives you a long time to work with your your surface, you know, and it's forgiving. But it's a con because when you're done and you want to move on, you gotta wait a minute. So keep that in mind as you work through and work on your surfaces. But yeah, this does bubble slightly. However, I did notice that it did go right flat again once I got done with the heat on it. So this, I don't think that this is my ideal way to dry this surface. I definitely think that letting it dry naturally is a better option for me. So when I play with this, I'm just going to take that into consideration. All right, let me share with you some of these samples that I made as I wait for this to dry here. And it's with the same mediums that I use, just different ways. So this is the scribble sticks in which I scribbled directly on the paper and then tried to go back through with a wet paintbrush and paint over. And as you can tell, it lifted almost all of that color. So it's very subtle. This is actually alcohol markers. I went through with the big line, and these are all Stampin' Up. Again, alcohol markers, you guys, you don't have to get just Copic. You can get off brands. The difference is going to be in the nub. That's what it is. Take a look at the nub. If you don't like the nub, you're probably not going to like how it lays. So anyway, I just went through, and then right here, I used the fine tip of the color blending brush or ink, and I blended it through. Now, just to let you know, that's a deceitful term. It's really not a color blender, it's a color lifter. If you want to blend, go back with your lighter alcohol ink. If you want a video on that, drop it down below because there's a way to do this. So this is Scribble Sticks, and I was like, ooh, ah. And this is when I did the end wet and ran it on through. So super pretty. This is some ink, and as you can tell, I lifted it before it was dry. I have some marks here, but now I am able to, it lifts a little bit. It does. I'm noticing right there, and right there. So be mindful of that. I need to find a sealant for it. If you know of a good way to seal this, please tell me down below because I'd love to learn, because I do like how it does blend with the ink. This is watercolor. Now this is interesting because as this dried, as all of these dried, it doesn't dry to a super shiny finish. It dries a little bit. There's some matte to it. It's like it's textured, which is super interesting. Now, this is all of the alcohol ink. I had just purchased the alcohol ink from Ranger and the neon, and I wanted to see how all the colors played together. So this is the 8-pack. I did warms here because I know that if you mix warms, you're not going to get mud. This is cools with, you know, a secondary color. Purple, I only do purple with blues and reds so you don't get mud. All right, this, I just wanted to make kind of a rainbow effect on this, and so I used this tool right here and laid out the ink that way. All right, and then this one I splattered. I don't know why I chose yellow and purple, probably just to see how much mud I would get. So I splattered, and then I used this tool to blow it around. Got that one. And then this one I splattered, and then I went through and I used this all over it. So I got a little bit of orange, not mud. I don't know if that is, it's pretty. Okay, this one a little bit grungier, some mud on that, same type process. I used alcohol blending on that, and so that is the difference. Not an alcohol blend, an alcohol blending solution on that one. And then this one is so fun. I just laid all of the colors down while they were wet, let them kind of move, manipulated the paper. I do get some brown here that I'm seeing, like right there. I'm not loving that, but it's not horrible. And then let's see here, and these are all card front bases, sizes, so I can use that. I'm going to repurpose these. Same type thing here. So I think on this one I laid down alcohol blending solution first and then I popped the color on. This one I did the opposite. I popped the color on first and then laid the alcohol blending solution on it. This one, again, it's out of order. It should be with the other one. It should be with the yellow and the purple. This one right here, I put alcohol blending solution. No, I didn't. I only popped this on all over when it was wet. That's what I did with that one. Okay. Then this one, again, I just wanted to lay all the colors down and see. I really like that. I think it's beautiful. No blend solution on that, just literally laying the colors on and waiting for them to semi-dry between layering on the next color. And then finally, this is all the colors I did with this. And I used I didn't use any blending solution. So there's harder lines and crisper colors. All right, so just so you can kind of see, I did do a lot of research before I did this. So now is the time to showcase our beautiful art. So you just peel up your washi tape or whatever you used. All right, and it's going to give you some really pretty lines here. And you know, I could hang this on the wall if I wanted to. I could even put some images in here. I could have used some stencils on it, but I really just wanted to showcase for you how the different mediums worked on this type of paper, so you could decide if this is something that you want to play with. And also, I just hope that it gave you a new way to play with your mediums and not worry about wasting your paper, because you can create samples that are beautiful doing something like this. Okay, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please make sure that you give it a like. It really helps me get you know, these out into the, you know, the cyber world. Leave me a comment, and if you know of anyone who would enjoy something like this, please share. Until next time, I'm Bets Golden, and happy crafting.